All right, let's do it. Welcome in. What's good? What's up? This is the 49ers Report by Chat Sports. Today's show is sponsored by Manscaped. You can get 20% off and free shipping on the best men's grooming products at manscaped.com/49ers. Promo code 49ers for that deal to apply. We're going to put that link in the comment section as well as in the description of this video, and we'll tell you more about what Manscaped has to offer here in a little while. The premium package obviously is tremendous. All of the products involved in one. Stay tuned to find out. And once again, that deal, the best that Manscaped has to offer, and they're only giving that deal to the faithful family. Before we start to take your questions here on the show, another reminder, make sure you subscribe to the channel because you're a winner at the end of the day when you do that because you get our free content every single day. Niners news and analysis year-round. But also, you get alerted when you turn on those notifications and subscribe of when we go live. At this point, we're going live a couple of times per week, every Tuesday and Thursday, and then on game day, let's get to 93,000 subscribers as soon as possible. Faithful, we appreciate you. We start off our mailbag with this $5 super chat coming in from Mutt Flatulence. How many picks do you think that Dak Prescott will throw on Sunday against San Francisco? So Dak historically, Mutt, has struggled against this Niners defense, and it's come in 2 postseason games against the Niners. And the splits here for Dak in the playoffs are pretty telling. He has played a total of 6 playoff games in his career. In the 2 games against the Niners, he has a completion percentage of 57.5%. He's only thrown for 460 yards in those 2 games. He has 49 rushing yards, 3 total touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. In the other 4 games that he has played in the postseason, completion percentage goes up from 57.5 to 66.9. Passing yards, more than 1,000. Rushing yards, up by 20, as it's on the uptick to 69. He has 12 total touchdowns as compared to 3, and only 2 interceptions in those other 4 games. So I expect the Niners to come out with multiple fronts. I want to see Steve Wilks, do what he did against the New York Giants. A lot of those 5-man fronts, which allows you to have Eric Armstead, Javon Kinlaw, and Javon Hargrave on the field at the same time, and then Nick Bosa and which other edge rusher that you want on the field opposite of him, whether it be Drake Jackson or Cleveland Ferrell. You get pressure there with 5. You let your linebackers and your secondary eat. And then the other little wrinkle and sprinkle that I want to see from Steve Wilks, bring Talanoa Hufanga and Fred Warner up to the line of scrimmage. Fake that blitz. Sometimes you want them to blitz. Other times you want them to drop back. And it's that type of multi-layering coverage that can confuse Dak Prescott where he doesn't know where to go with the football, who's dropping back, and he's prone to throwing interceptions. True Allure next up. Who should we trade for at the NFL trade deadline? So a couple of positions that I'm looking at right now. Right tackle, although rarely, if ever, is a right tackle traded going into the deadline. I think you could also use a little bit of an upgrade at cornerback too. Now, if an injury happens, that could change things a little bit. When you're looking at a marquee player, you're looking at a guy like Patrick Surtain at cornerback. A very solid option, Nate Hobbs. Serviceable, a Steven Nelson. Couple of different options there for you, Chua. How about them Niners? Is there any news on Beal, Luter, and Gray returning from IR? It's week 5, so they're eligible to return. So all of those players have not been activated off of IR yet. They didn't go on season-ending IR, so they had to miss at least the first 4 games. But they're still on IR, and they have not been cleared yet, so all those players still injured. Jonathan Lamont Page, what's good, Brody? Is Randy Gregory worth the off-field worries? I think he is as long as the cost lines up. Your thoughts? So the off-field issues, I think it's had to do with like a lot of marijuana stuff, which I'm not too concerned about. The NFL used to have really strict rules as far as weed goes, but not really any longer. Legal concerns, nothing like too serious where I have issues with it. I'm always an advocate for taking chances on players who I think could play, especially when you have a really good defensive line coach like Chris Kocurek who can maximize players and bring them to the next level. I mean, his track record of doing that is tremendous. And he's currently doing that with Cleveland Ferrell, who was such a massive bust with the Las Vegas Raiders. He's been an impactful player for the Niners here. So I think about it. It all comes down to the amount of money. As of this recording on Thursday, the Broncos have not released him yet. They're trying to find a trade partner. He does not have to go through waivers, by the way. He will become a free agent. It's better if he's a free agent because nobody wants to take on that contract. So basically the Broncos have no trade leverage. Adrian Avila, are you concerned with their offensive line? It's pretty much our weakness, and Dallas does have a very elite defense. Yeah, so the Niners' offensive line hasn't really bitten them yet. Kyle Shanahan has banked on good enough pass protection for Brock Purdy to get rid of the football. And up to this point, it's worked out well. Now, the one game that was a concern was week 1 when you're trying to knock off the cobwebs, and TJ Watt had 3 sacks. Micah Parsons is going to be lined up on Colton McKivitz. So McKivitz will have another tall test. And if he struggles once again, that is not good, and that could wreck your game plan. As I mentioned off the top of the show, the 49ers Report is presented by Manscaped. 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com/49ers. I love all of their products, in particular the Lawnmower 4.0, interchangeable blade, a battery life that lasts forever, and Safeguard technology is great. Because when you use cheap razors, how often, whether you're trimming up your beard, your sideburns, the back of your neck, for Manscaped, that George W. Bush down below the waist, you get nicked up, you start to bleed a little bit, you suffer a cut, and that just ain't good. It's also water resistant, so if it gets a little bit wet, you don't have to worry about that. The size of it, good enough to fit in a travel case. So get started today with Manscaped. These are the products that I use. I absolutely love them, and they continue to make improvements to everything. That's why 9 million men have purchased Manscaped products. It's manscaped.com/49ers, promo code 49ers for that deal to apply. If you've also used Manscaped, give me a me down below in the chat, and we appreciate you for supporting the show if that's the case. Jonathan with another one here. If Denver is selling, should they be in the market for Patrick Surtain? I would love Patrick Surtain. He would be my absolute dream target. If I could think right now of 2 players I would love for the Niners to trade for to improve their roster to a level where I'm not sure they have a weakness, Tristan Wirfs, right tackle, Patrick Surtain at cornerback. I think both of those players could be excellent. How about them Niners? We can go back to words of wisdom, too. Do you think Cordarrelle Patterson could still be a dangerous weapon on the Niners? Seems like a player that could do some things and some of the similar things that CMC can. Atlanta doesn't need him. Atlanta doesn't need him. They've barely used him. I don't think San Francisco really needs him either unless they just have plans to use him as a backup running back. As a returner, Ray McCloud is one of the best in the NFL. So you don't need Cordarrelle Patterson to really take over his role. Plus, you can use Ray McCloud as a little bit of a hybrid option too. So I don't think that Cordarrelle Patterson is going to be making his way to the Bay if McCloud gets injured and you're in need of a returner who can flip the field and has a history of bringing back 109-yard kick returns. Patterson could take it to the crib. By the way, everybody clap it up for how about them Niners? A great profile picture right there, taking a leak on that Cowboys logo. Words of wisdom. Thoughts on the story that Jimmy Garoppolo could have suited up for the NFC Championship game but didn't. Also that Jimmy Ward refused to play certain defensive back positions. So for those of you not in the know, Jimmy Ward, who's now with the Houston Texans, last year in 2022, longest tenured Niner on the roster after being a first-round pick and going through the Harbaugh era way back in the day and then all the way through the Kyle Shanahan era, was talking to Richard Sherman, and he said, look, I thought that Jimmy Garoppolo could have played and suited up in that NFC Championship game. If you remember, we talked about this back in the lead-up to the Super Bowl back in February when Ryan Hensley, who's also a Niners content creator, go check his YouTube channel out, was talking about this and reported this. And Jimmy Ward basically said, I had bad blood with Kyle Shanahan and the Niners before I left in free agency. And so, too, did a guy like Jimmy Garoppolo. Is that bad blood a reason why Garoppolo was like, I'm done with this organization. They're not going to bring me back. Why would I risk getting injured further in the NFC Championship game? Now, me as a competitor, I'd be doing everything to get on the field, and the Niners could have used him, and maybe the season ends a little bit differently if they don't have to turn to Christian McCaffrey throwing footballs in the Final Four. but certainly interesting there. And then as far as him playing different DB positions, there's a reason for that. And he didn't say I didn't, and he didn't decline to play defensive back positions. He ended up playing a lot of slot nickel. But in order for him to come back to the Niners, he wanted to play safety. And San Francisco said, we have Talanoa Hufanga, we have Deshaun Gibson. So that's why they didn't re-sign him. And then last year on that defense, Jimmy Ward got hurt, and they signed Deshaun Gibson to the practice squad. They elevated Gibson up to the active roster. He played so well while Jimmy Ward was out that they didn't want to take him off the field because the safety tandem with Gibson and Hufanga was playing so well. So the next option for the Niners was to play Jimmy Ward at slot nickel corner so that they could keep that safety tandem there and still have Jimmy Ward, who going into 2022 was voted as a top 100 player. So certainly some good stuff right there, and you can check it out for yourself on the Richard Sherman podcast. Mr. Black Ice, with the Cal Doo-Doo's offensive line not 100%, how many sacks do you think we'll get? So that tune has actually changed, Mr. Black Ice. The Dallas Cowboys are expected to play and have all 5 of their starting offensive linemen for the first time since the divisional round last year against San Francisco. Now, those players might not be 100% healthy, which could go into your point of the Niners defense being able to eat, but those players probably better than the backups. Either way, that's one of my keys to the game. Can the Niners defensive line finally go off for that sack party, and can Nick Bosa, ruin Dak Prescott's day? The average Niner fan, are you concerned about the coverage? What are our weaknesses for coverage and the defense to stop the run? I think the weakness for this defense here is the lack of aggressiveness at times from Steve Wilks. Against the Giants on Thursday Night Football, I'm like, yo, Steve, I need to see more of this. 5-man fronts, a lot of blitzes. Daniel Jones had no idea what was coming his way. There was an epic video of him approaching the line of scrimmage. He's like, what do I do here? Fred Warner is breathing down my neck. He might blitz. Talanoa Hufanga might come off that corner on the corner blitz, and they might drop back. I'm going to get confused and turn the football over. I want to see more of those disguise coverages. I'm not sure if San Francisco wanted to reveal a lot against Arizona, and you're going up against Josh Dobbs and a limited Cardinals offense. So why reveal all that much? Against Dallas, though, you got to be able to bring your A game because this Cowboys offense, points per game, top 5 in the NFL. They do really struggle in the red zone, though. Jonathan Page with another one. Is Brian Burns still on the radar? If the Panthers continue to suck and they have no hopes of bringing him back, trade him away to the Niners. Help San Francisco get closer to that Super Bowl while you'll have no first-round pick after making that trade up for Bryce Young. If you're going to be a rebuilding team and you're not going to re-sign Brian Burns, San Francisco will certainly take him. With that, we round out our mailbag with this. Who you got? DAL for the Cowboys, SF for the Niners. Sunday. Can't wait for it. Join our watch party. It's going to be an absolute blast.